Paula, you are so funny. He's back. Oh my gosh. I hate technology, don't you? It's one of those necessary evils. Ugh. So, at any rate, I'll try it again. If it doesn't work, we'll just consider it the weekend or something. So I don't know. Did you guys look up that serial number? I know Emma had started to do it, something like 50,000, blah blah blah. But the serial number, I'll type it in the chat if you guys didn't write it down before with our debacle. Let's see. Serial number is G. Hey Emma, I don't know if I'm back yet or not. We'll see. That's the serial number there, G6455716. All right, we'll try this again. See how things go. So this again is a project I'm just starting on right now. It's this machine has been in the workshop for about a year. It is a Model 66, and it looks like Emma's gotten the birth date down. Let's see, September 17, 1918. That's what I have as well. We don't have any discrepancy this time in the G series. This one, I think we can both agree that we have the correct date on it. I hope so. But this one again is a local customer, Carmen Schreiber, and this belonged to her grandmother. So I can show you guys 103 years old. Yeah, exactly. Wow. Let's take a look at this machine again, because others are going to view this afterwards, and I know you guys have gotten a pre-glimpse of it already, but we'll look at it again. So all kinds of challenges with this machine, like you already saw before our live feed died the last time. So this again is our electrical work. Yeah, if these light bulbs put out any light, I probably would leave it in there, but they're horrible. They really don't put out much light at all. And like I had said in the live feed before, is that music too loud, by the way? The audio on this webcam isn't quite as good as my other camera, so I want to make sure that if the music is too loud, we can tone it back a little bit. So, which I'll probably do anyway. But again, if you ever get one of these early 1900 machines, this barrel style upper tension kind of fits in there super thick, super tight. And the only way I was able to get this one out was to use my torch on the rear of it very carefully, and then use some oil. The secret in getting something like this out is to usually go inside of the faceplate, right inside of there. You can see on the rear of it. It's kind of hard to see anything in there, but right on the rear of here is to superheat that area. And then after you get it up to about 300 degrees, to put a couple drops of oil. And the wonder of heat is when you superheat a metal like that and it has any space at all behind there where this would come out, that heat will just suck that oil in straight away, and it allows you to break it free without damaging this cast metal, because this is metal, but it's cast, and if you start trying to crank on it and stuff, you're going to crack it, or you're going to break it off in there, which is even worse. So that's what I would recommend, and that's what I use to get it out. Because initially I tried a couple of things to kind of work it loose, and it was just frozen in there in a major way. So I heated it from the back side. Basically heated this side of the tensioner right there. That's the thickest part of the cast right in there. And so I hit it with my torch for probably about 30 seconds. And then I seeped in oil behind it, and then I was able to slowly work it free and get it out of there. But I still have to get this stem out of there so I can do deep cleaning in that well, and then also take care of the spring as well. And these springs, when they're 103 years old, they are so ridiculously fragile. So fragile. And also be careful if you use a torch in the faceplate area. You can see there's all kinds of combustibles in there. And some of the combustibles you can't even see because there's dried oil. There's some grease on the back of that part as well. And you don't want to set the machine on fire. Well, you might want to set the machine on fire if it looks like it's really going to be a headache. But you don't want to set, I don't want to set a customer's machine on fire, especially when it belonged to Carmen's grandmother. But yeah, just always, whenever you use a torch, just be careful where you're using it. Because again, a little torch like this, believe it or not, is going to hit right around 1,000 to 1,200 degrees. So, I mean, doesn't look like it could do that, but it's amazing what butane can generate from a heat standpoint. Emma said she's not going to try messing with a torch at this point. Dang, that messes it up. I was going to mail all of my favorite folks like you and Paula and Sonny and Bill and everyone. I was going to mail all of you torches for Christmas. It's a perfect stocking stuffer. Yeah, it is. But again, this project is going to be directed a lot by how far the customer wants to go with this. Because these things like this are obvious. I mean, wiring, when you get into wiring issues like this has to be done. There's no choice. And the rust also is on the inside of this foot controller on a lot of the components. And so I'm probably going to just recommend that we upgrade the foot controller as well. And I haven't gotten inside of the motor yet, but like I said, I did a bypass test on this, and I got a large plume of smoke out of this. So it could just be residual oil that was on the commutator, and when it sparked, it kind of went poof, a little bit like that. But I've got to tear all this apart. And again, whenever you take this is an unusual bracket. I showed you guys in the other live stream before we went offline, but this motor actually mounts. It actually mounts on the rear of the machine, which is kind of a shame. I guess it doesn't matter a whole lot because the motor would cover up this decal to some extent anyway. And Paula had asked when we were streaming before, is this the original motor and bracket? It is. But it's going to cover up that entire decal. That entire decal is going to be covered up. So I take a tutorial from you in live stream first. Okay. Yeah, we could probably look at doing that. I'll probably get another one of these machines and break it free. But I noticed some cracking in here as well. And you probably can't see it with the lighting that we have. It's hard to see it. It's hard to see it, but But I'll wait and see what Carmen wants to do as far as all of this, because this will take trying to bring this bed back a little bit. Even if we don't clear coat it, it's probably about 3 or 4 hours of work to try to take care of all this. Rust on here, rust inside of the faceplate on top, just rust throughout. So it's going to be a big project, and I've got so many other projects that I need to be working on right now too. So that's part of the reason, along with waiting on a few parts, why I kind of delayed this project a little bit, is I was trying to get other machines out that wouldn't be quite as intense. You tell that bobbin, that's probably the original bobbin tire there. I would like for you to pink grease mixture. I didn't even look at the bottom of this. There's more rust at the top of there. It looks like it runs down pretty much most of the pillar. Oh, Emma, you said a machine like this is what you like to clean and bring out the shine and luster. Okay, all right. I'm going to do the mechanical stuff, and then I'm going to ship it to you in Florida. Keep an eye on your porch. You never know, right? Oh man. Well, I'm going to get going on this. I just wanted to give you a pre-glimpse of it, and I'm going to throw up some I'm going to put up some pictures of this as well. I told Carmen I was going to post detailed pictures. Oh, I didn't even look at the bottom of that. That's freaky, huh? Ugh. I'm just curious how easily that stuff will come off, because I can feel it with my hand. Part of that is clear coat breakdown, but it's like a weird chalkiness. Let me see what I can do as far as wiping that off a little bit. Notice I'm going in one direction. I've seen some people on YouTube videos and that, not that I spend a lot of time on other channels because I don't have time, but I've noticed some people that will be going like this or like this. You generally want to go one direction because what you're doing is you're basically pushing the filth and the dirt off to one side so that you're not basically sweeping it back over the surface again. And I'm only applying a modest amount of pressure. I'm not pushing down with a huge amount of force. But you can see right here, if you look real close, we've got some pitting of rust right there too. I think you can see that a little bit. And that's what we've gotten off so far. I don't know if you can see that in the shot or not. Let me, maybe if I lay it down. There we go. That's a little bit better. So again, it's kind of up to Carmen how far she wants to go with it. I can do general conditioning of the paint and to try to wick some of this stuff out, but I can see already that there's compromise points in the clear coat. There's also rust coming up from underneath as well, from underneath the paint. So it's going to be up to her. It's going to add quite a bit of cost to the project, but she might be content just having some general cleanup done on the paint, and then it should be pretty solid. You know, at least as far as it'll be a functional machine, but it's not going to be heirloom museum quality unless this is dealt with here. And some of this can be cleaned up a little bit with, maybe not. It looks like it's too far down. But sometimes if you use some oil and some soft steel wool, you can get some of this extra up, but there's not enough clear coat. What it's going to do then is it's going to expose the bare paint, and it's going to have to be sealed off anyway. So, oh, hey, Kay. She looks better already. Universal solvent spit. You use spit on yours, Emma? Going in a store, will pop back in when I can. Okay, Paula, sounds good. And what do we have? Works for me. Apollo will let me know when it arrives. I was only joking. I would have to get permission from Carmen to mail this all the way to Florida. And because I actually drove out to her place and picked this up about a year ago, I didn't know she'd be comfortable with me. Plus, she would have to incur the cost too. So yeah, I was only joking, Emma. I was only joking, but you're such a trooper. Thank you. Thank you so much. What did Kay write here? Kay, I have this very head I will send to anyone who will pay shipping. It is from a treadle. Okay. So Kay Webster, Kay, where do you live? What state do you come from, or what country are you in? Kay wants to, it sounds like Kay wants to donate a class 66 that she has that was a treadle machine. And if it's rear mounted like this one, let me show you. If it's rear mounted like this one, then that's going to be a 66-1. This was one of the very first treadles, one of the first class 66s that came out. The only one that beat it by about three or 3 or 4 years was the 66K that came out in Britain. You guys remember some of the other class 66 models? We've covered this before in other premieres. I'm not sure where Kay is from, you guys. She's not responding now. Can one of you moderators type in the chat to Kay? Kay, where are you located? Maybe she's got her volume down right now and she's not hearing me ask her for that information. I just want to know what state she's from so that I ship enough that I can let you guys know approximately, depending on where she's located and where other folks are in the US, what the shipping cost is going to be. Oh, a Spanish song. I love it. Let me turn this up.
Dominicana, la casa del merengue, la casa de la bachata. Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue, la casa de la bachata. La 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 la, la casa del merengue. La 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 la, y la casa de la bachata.
Hey, hey! Yes, I'm dancing off camera. This is a dancing song, you guys. Come on.
Música, 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 te traigo música, 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 música de la República. Ajá.
Great song. Wow. Oh, hey, Butterfly. See, that's not just dust there. See that? I'm kind of rubbing it. You guys know my pink grease, right? Oh, Arkansas. Okay. So if anyone's interested in taking cabinet is trash, that's okay. This type of machine needs to go into a cabinet or a base, or remember I showed you can use a furniture pad like this underneath the rear of the machine. To level the machine out. You can see right now and I've actually sewn with a machine like this out of the case, just balanced with one of those furniture pads. So Kay said that the table or whatever that it was in is trashed, but you can still, if you want to take her up on the offer, Northeast Arkansas. So this weighs about 33, 34 pounds. With actually, this one weighs about 36 pounds with all of the rust and the filth built up on it. But you're looking at a shipping cost from Arkansas to East Coast of about, depending on who you use, around $60. If you ship it from Arkansas to California, it's going to be about $75. And if you go to the South, say to Louisiana, Texas, it's going to be right around $65 to $70, similar to California, depending again on who you use. So, but if anyone wants to take Kay up on that offer, Kay can send me a private message, and or if you want to connect with her, maybe through Facebook. I don't know, whatever we want to do. If you guys want to use me as the middle person to exchange the information, if you're interested in picking up a class 66 similar to this. Kay, is yours mounted on the rear like this as well? Does your presser foot screw on the back of it like this? I'm just trying to figure out which version it is, which class 66 version. And what I'm doing right now is you guys know my pink grease, right? I'm taking some of my pink grease and I'm actually rubbing it into the paint. The biggest risk is paint like this that's been compromised is going to be more towards brittle. And by working this oil into it, it kind of softens the paint and it makes it a little bit more receptive to getting that dirt and filth out of there. Just kind of leave it on there and then I'll wipe it off again. But that's all I put on there is just a little bit of my pink grease. What is that? I've never seen that screen before. That's so weird. Yeah, there's so much compromise of the clear coat. This is going to be I'm only going to be able to go so far with it. So if you can see the color difference. Shut that light off. That might actually help. See, yeah. The only way to get, see all these interrupting points here, this is where clear coat is missing. The only way to resolve that is going to be using either a super high grit sandpaper, around 2000 grit sandpaper, or lightly using steel wool to go over it. I might grab some steel wool and give that a try. If you're trying to do cleanup on a bed like this, and you've got a lot of breakdown of the clear coat, and you try to use steel wool or something like this, you've got to use oil with it, and you've got to do a very, very light touch on it, a real light touch, especially working next to the areas of the decals on the borders and that. Oh, I see it now. All right. And you can see here we've already got quite a bit of decal breakdown. The ideal thing would be to strip this down. You can see part of this that we're getting off already, I think, in the camera. And unlike when you're just trying to clean the surface up and remove dirt, it's okay to go back and forth when you're using steel wool like this. It actually makes the surface a little bit more even. And what I keep doing with my finger is I'm trying to feel what we're breaking off of there, what we're getting off. Let me wipe over it with a clean cosmetic pad or a cotton ball. You'll see what we're getting off. And that's a combination of dirt, filth, old oil, and also clear coat. The clear coat is so broken down on the surface that, I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. The ideal thing would be like that recent machine you saw me, the Model 27. The ideal thing would be just to take it all the way down. But I'm going to see if I can at least get the parts of it off that are, I mean, they're just basically loose already. You see that in there at all? You could put tape over the decals, Emma. Kind of like I showed you on that recent FOF 130-6 when I tried to do some bed cleanup and stabilize the crackling. Um, but the problem with tape is I would prefer to have it open so I can get as close to the decals as possible. It's not a bad idea, but if I were going to clear coat it, just the bed surface, we could probably get away with doing that. But I mean, this is pervasive throughout the whole machine. Look at the rest of the coating as well. Here, up here on the pillar. Can you see the areas though where you're starting to see a little bit of the shine starting to come back through? But it's still the best scenario is to re-clear coat this because the clear coating is so compromised on it. And again, I'm applying a real light touch, just basically buffing over it. Can you see the impact we're starting to bring? It's a slow, tedious process, but we're starting to get some of that luster starting to come back through, slow but sure. But see, here's the problem. We're able to even that finish out a little bit. The finish is looking better, but because the clear coat is so broken down, we're actually getting some light paint off of it as well now. See that? But if you compare it to the other side, but there's a lot more work that could be put into this. I'm just trying to get it stable right now so that it's not going to be coming off on material. If Carmen's budget doesn't allow for clear coating it again, then at least we can get the paint surface stable. But there's so much buildup still on there. So much buildup. Down here, we made a little bit better impact, but a long ways to go, real long ways to go. And I've got to be careful I don't go too far with the surface because otherwise we're not going to have anything left. It's in a real bad condition right now. Yeah, Nancy, that so if it's a let me If it's a rear mounted screw K, then you have a 66-1, which is the very first US Class 66 that they made. That's a great model. That's what Bill O'Rourke has as well down in Florida. He works as a moderator on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. Every machine is different, Nancy. This machine, the thing you probably had, I don't know that I recommend hand cleaner, but if it worked for you, I guess I can't dispute that. But you probably had a lot more of the clear coat remaining on that machine that you worked on. This clear coat is so badly compromised, we're basically dealing with little sections of clear coat that are still intact, and then basically just raw paint. We're down to paint. And that's where I'm going to recommend to the customer, since this was her grandmother's machine and it has okay. Yeah, if anyone wants to look up Kay's machine that she's wanting to donate, and if someone will cover the shipping, that way we'll know what the birth date of that 66-1 is. And that's a real good steel wool to use to try to mitigate that surface issue that Nancy had on her machine. But every machine is unique, and this particular one from 1918, right? Is that what we said? Yeah, 1918. This surface has been let go so far. It's really going to be a tough one to bring back. And when you have to go down as far as we're going to go down, all the stuff we're getting off of it right now, you can see. We can make progress on it, but ultimately it should be resealed again with clear coat. And Nancy, you didn't re-clear coat your machine, Nancy. You just used steel wool and what did you say, hand cream or something? Hand cleaner from the auto store. So yours sounds like it was probably just varnishing and oil buildup on your surface. This is a lot more extreme. We're dealing with clear coat breakdown and everything on this surface. Up here, it probably wouldn't be as difficult because it looks like we still have real solid clear coat up here. Matter of fact, I can wipe over that a little bit to contrast what we're working with. See, the clear coat on top of here is still in relatively good condition. So it's primarily the bed that's going to be a major challenge. The bed is going to be a major challenge when it comes to and again, the pressure I'm applying right now, because while the clear coat is better up here, it's still not 100%. The best scenario would be to carefully prepare the surface to receive new clear coat. And what that would do as well is it would fill in any of those gap points. Kind of see what we're getting off of there. This pillar also looks like it'll be an area that we can target because the clear coat is still pretty solid on that. But again, whenever you're working with, I think it was Nancy that was talking about using hand cream. A lot of the hand creams that you would buy at automotive stores will have a pumice type component to them. It's basically almost like a lava substance that creates abrasion when you're washing the grease and stuff off your hands. So it helps to break that stuff down and get it off. So if you decide to try what Nancy did, using a hand cream from like an automotive store, um, there's different stages and steps that I go through, Paula. A greasy hand cream cleaner that mechanics use, and I didn't have to put clear coat on. Yeah, and every machine, again, Nancy, is different. Um, the clear coat is the only thing that protects the paint. So when we're looking at a machine like this that belongs to Carmen, I might be able to bring a lot of that luster back like I have here already. Um, just using a combination of a light type solvent that I use, and then also regular sewing machine oil, and break down that oil buildup that's on there. Yours probably was not nearly as extreme as this, because part of what you're seeing here is actually the clear coat. The clear coat is actually breaking down. I'm pushing down on that. It doesn't just, it's not nothing you can just rub off. So I don't know what Goju is, or Gojo, or whatever that is. I know that our one friend that attends premieres regularly, Steve, from, I believe, Oklahoma, um, he had been told by somebody to go ahead and use something like this. To use something like this on the sewing machine. And they, if my understanding was correctly, use it on surfaces like this. And then he also tried to clean up his badge mark, his medallion as well. The only problem, his medallion was a Centennial one, which is made out of a resin. And this stuff actually ate away the resin. And now he has a Centennial badge mark that looks like this instead of the blue background that it's supposed to have. So whenever you're using chemicals on a machine like this, it's usually because people inherently are impatient. They want to be able to take a surface like this and wipe over it, get all this junk off of it. You can see kind of what we're working with here, and restore the luster of the finish. When the clear coat is gone, it's gone. And then all you're working with is paint. And paint by itself, it can't stand on its own. That's why you've got to seal it off with clear coat. So every machine situation is different. I've had machine situations that the bed was more in the class of this up here. And I've been able to carefully restore the luster without having to re-clear coat the machine again. But up here on this machine is very different than what we have down here. Down here, we've got the clear coat so compromised, we're down to bare paint. And so it's going to be up to the customer, but we're probably going to have to look at, I'll prepare the surface, get it down to the top level of the paint, get all this dead. It's almost like flaky skin. Have you guys ever had flaky skin before, especially in the wintertime? Emma's really driving home this non-pumice based, non-abrasive, mild hand cleaner stuff. I've read otherwise. Have you read otherwise? I could have read from the source that was questionable on the Facebook group. And that's always the problem, isn't it? It's knowing what source to believe, what source to trust, right? I mean, Stephen from Oklahoma had a beautiful Centennial badge on the front of his machine, and now it looks like this because the source that he trusted said to go ahead and use something like this, and the source basically said you can use it on the entire machine. So I always say it in premieres as well. You've got to know what source is reliable, what source can you trust, what is your circumstance. You know, do you have, like Nancy, do you have a machine that has just buildup of oil on it and can something that's a lot less aggressive remove that oil and return the luster because the clear coat is still intact? Or do you have something more like Carmen has here with her grandmother's machine where we've gotten all this stuff off already? But we've got to go so much further. And when we go further, it inevitably is going to give us a bed surface that's going to basically be raw paint. And raw paint being left on its own is not a good thing. But if all we were looking to do is take a bed surface, Emma's writing something as well. I don't use it at all. I don't use it at all. Okay. Read the label. Or you could say like former President Reagan, Paula, when he was talking about our relationship with the Russians, he was saying trust but verify. So I guess reading that label, and let's just face it, Paula was one. Paula's a thinker, as is Emma. These are very smart ladies, a lot of smart folks in this group, and it's such a blessing to have that because we learn from each other that way. But product information can also be misleading, right? I mean, there's a little thing called marketing. And when you're marketing a product, whether it's something like this or anything else, you're going to give the best spin on it, but you're also going to cover your backside, right? You got to cover yourself against liability. So that if you put on a container like this, safe to use on resins, safe to use on polymer type painted product, two-stage surfaces, which is what a Centennial badge is. It's a two-stage surface. This is the base surface of the Centennial badge, something like this. And then they build a two-stage resin type polymer over the top of it. So if you were to say on your product information, safe to use on resin type surfaces that are two-stage, and then all of a sudden Steve uses it on his Centennial badge, and it basically, if you saw what he shared on Facebook, it ate that resin away. This stuff basically broke that resin down, and he ended up with Centennial badge like this. That's not what you want when you have a Centennial machine. So you know, you just have to be careful because product manufacturers will give the best possible spin to their product while trying to cover their highest risk areas for liability. So it's like anything. Usually you'll see on something like this, try on a small area of the machine. So whether you took a cotton swab or a cosmetic pad, one of these two things, and you just said, well, I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna try this product and see what impact it brings to, say, this little corner of the machine over here. That stuff strips the clear coat right off. This stuff here, Emma, the Goo Gone stuff. Yeah. Well, have you actually tried it, Emma, and you stripped the clear coat off a machine using it? And that's where, again, the message that y'all can get when you go to different sources. I was communicating with a lady today via email, and she said, but such and such a source said that I could do this. And I said, I think it was regarding, remember, Paula, we'd had that conversation, and I sent you all of the toxins that are in that Triflow type lubricant that is being pushed heavily right now in sewing circles. And Paula had asked me, she kind of said, hey, what's in this stuff? You know, is this, and I gave her a summary. That would be great if Paula still had it, if she could repost that again. But it had all kinds of caustic things in it that was in that Triflow stuff. So Emma tried this stuff, y'all. She tried this stuff on a corner of one of her machines, and it actually ate the clear coat up. And there's different qualities of clear coat as well. When you guys look at one of my complete restores, like on Brad Stuman's, it's on the landing page of the Facebook, I use commercial grade clear coat, and that stuff is, especially all the layers, just like when I did Paula's 201-2, it also comes down to how many layers of that clear coat is on there too. Because if you got like 5 or 6 layers of clear coat, right now we're down to almost bare paint. But if you have 5 or 6 layers of clear coat, then you can afford to take something like this. Oh, where is it? Dumping stuff everywhere. Oh, someone had asked about, let me change this shot again a little bit. Someone asked about what type of steel wool I was using before. This is actually vintage. This is actually vintage steel wool. And there's 16 pads in here. And then it shows you the different grades going across. So the stuff I'm using is more coarse than I think what Nancy said. I believe Nancy had said she was using right around in this stage, like 000. And you can see how they stage out steel wool. And I have other types of steel wool as well. But the ultimate fine, if you want to be as non-abrasive as you can on a surface, is going to be triple zero. And you get 3 zeros, 2 zeros, 1 0, and then you have kind of where this stuff is at, right around a 1. And then you can go all the way down in the coarse stages, all the way down to 4. So this is where I'm at right now. And then usually what I'll do after I get the chunky stuff off of the surface is then I'll go to something like this, which is going to be 2000 grit sandpaper. And if you were to rate 2000 grit sandpaper, and I know they're not directly, you can't correlate them exactly. That camera shot is horrible. You can't correlate these exactly, but 2000 grit sandpaper would be probably a little bit below this stage right here. So that's usually what I do, is I start with something that's not super coarse. It's kind of in the medium range of coarse. And then I'll step it down to 2000 grit sandpaper. which if you use 2000 grit sandpaper with a little bit of water and a little bit of, or a little bit of oil, water or oil, either one, just get it wet. You can take a clear coat that is looking really bad and give it new life straight away. The surface survived the 409 and alcohol, but the freckles remain. Any suggestions on how to get rid of the freckles? It was a filthy garage sale find. So again, Paula, and I don't know what your surface looks like right now, so I'm kind of just guessing a little bit, but you could certainly go to a store. An automotive store would have this in their auto body section. 2000 grit sandpaper is good, but you can actually go all the way down to, or I'll go all the way up to 3000 grit sandpaper. And some auto stores even carry 5000 grit sandpaper. And then you're talking about, even at the 2000 grit sandpaper stage, you could literally polish the crystal of a watch with this if you did it with a very, very ginger touch. Let's say you scratched the crystal on your watch, and it's this stuff would work on it. That's how fine it is. So you could try something like this. Again, get it wet, and then just lightly go over it to see if you can clean up some of those. No apparent change whatsoever on the LBOW from the 409 or alcohol. You'd have to send me some pictures, Paul. I really don't know what you're working with exactly, but 409 is 409 is a little bit aggressive to use on a sewing machine unless you've got a lot of layers of clear coat that are still intact. On this 1918 model, the clear coat has been severely compromised, and all we can try to do is a cleanup of it, and then see if the customer can have the budget where we can seal off that paint again, and give a good luster return to it and fill in all these gap points. Plus, I've got to deal with some of these rust issues as well that are pushing through on the paint. So, like I said about Nancy's situation, she was talking about using this hand cleaner from an automotive store and getting a great result. For her situation, it worked. For another machine, you might not. Well, I can say pretty confidently, you're not going to get the same outcome, because while would it require clear coat, or would the Z-Mall cleaner and wax suffice? It depends on how much clear coat is left, Paula, really. And I've got that kind of stuff as well. I like experimenting with things a little bit. So, I've got, where is it? I'll find it somewhere here. A lot of people are strong believers when it comes to mitigating surface issues. A lot of people believe in products like this, and they swear by them. Stuff like this. And this particular stuff, I don't know if Paula is talking about this stuff, but this is a pre-wax deep cleaner. And so something like this, if there's enough clear coat left, this could do a real good job and be a lot more safe than rolling the dice and going to an automotive store and getting a hand cleaner and hoping that, even if it says it's mild, even if it says it doesn't have pumice in it, this stuff is designed specifically for clear coat painted surfaces as a preconditioner of the surface, so that it's ready then to receive something more like this. Yeah, and a lot of people will talk about the featherweight store. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's a family business, and some people just swear by the information that they give out. I've never tested them. I've never looked at the information and kind of vetted it. So again, it's like anything. If you get a good result, it's your specific situation. Don't believe that because one person tried, say, these two-stage processes on their machine, that it's going to work on your machine. It really depends on the condition of that paint. Now, if you're working with a paint surface more like this top part on the arm, you got a lot more choices. You have a lot more choices when you're working with a paint surface like this, because the majority of that clear coat is still intact, and you're able to apply a lot more. You have a lot more product choices to get a good outcome. So whether it's this stuff or this stuff, kind of going stage 1, stage 2, and then working on a surface like this, we could get a real good outcome. Down here, we're not going to have the same result because the clear coat is so compromised on this Singer 66-1 from 1918, right? Emma looked it up, or Paula looked it up. I don't remember which of the two moderators looked it up, but this is a tricky situation. And the deal with this is, you could say, well, Scott, couldn't you just re-clear coat this surface? Wouldn't that fix it? The thing with clear coat is it's like a two-way mirror. Clear coat is like a two-way mirror. Whatever is clear coated over, if that surface hasn't been prepared properly, it's going to reflect right back through again. So clear coating is not a magic wand that you can just go, hey, look, it looks great. All of these variations that you can see in the paint surface are going to reflect through that clear coat unless you prepare the surface properly. And that's a very, very time consuming thing to do. So the little bit that we've done so far has already started to make a difference. But look at all this stuff. I mean, this is only the tip of the iceberg, all this stuff that we've already gotten off of that surface. And if you look at this real close under magnification, you're not going to just see dirt. You're also going to see, when I kind of tilt it like this, you might see it reflecting a little bit. That's clear coat. That's the clear coat that's been compromised, that is being stripped off of the surface, which has to happen one way or another. That almost like dead skin, that dead skin has to be taken off of that paint surface, so you get a clean finish, like these blackened areas that we've started to have an impact on already. Blackened areas like this right here, where you can start to see almost the resemblance of a shine starting to try to come back through. That's a product of, we've gotten that dead skin off, that dead clear coat. Here we still have it. Here we still have it. All over the machine, we've got it. But in these little areas, we've started to impact that. And again, it's not through aggressive rubbing. It's lightly going over it with a combination of machine oil and a very mild solvent that I use to take that off layer by layer by layer, and then eventually get down to a nice, clean painted surface. Because we don't have the option here. On some machines, I can use, oh, thanks, Emma. I thought it was 1918, but I wasn't absolutely sure. So, the trick is, lacquer is usually a colored product that we oftentimes will call it a base coat. There are some clear lacquers, but the clear coat finish is what's going to seal off that colored paint, whatever it is that they used. I know way back in the days, they sometimes would use colored lacquers as well, but lacquer is something that, at least in today's industry, is no longer used, because it has shortcomings as well, as far as how long it will stay. You've seen some of those FOF beds that I've shown you, and I just got done redoing the bed with a very, very high level, not a, going down to the bare metal type approach with Alberto's machine. Lacquer tends to dry out and get brittle over time. Clear coat is a lot more resilient. So I would never use any kind of a clear lacquer to seal off the painted surface. I would always use a commercial grade clear coat to do it, because it's going to maintain some suppleness to it, which is going to prevent it from cracking and becoming brittle like we're seeing on this painted surface here. This is a product breaking down and drying out right there. And that's the nature of lacquers. A lot of the lacquers will do the same thing over time. And I mean, we are talking about a machine that's 103 years old, right? And we don't know what someone in the past, either Carmen's grandmother or someone else, what they used to clean this machine. They might have used Dove soap for all we know. They might have used, who knows? Just a myriad of different products are out there. So this machine is also coming to the workbench with an unknown history as far as how this coat, this bed surface got to this stage. Carmen might have some of that insight and answers, knowing her grandmother real well, but we're working with a surface that it's been impacted in so many different ways. We just don't know at this point, but I know what direction it needs to go. And that is getting all of this, what I'll refer to as dead skin, off of this surface. And the bed is the worst impacted right now. Like I said, if you look at the totality of the machine, this is going to be a lot easier if we get on that path, a lot easier to bring this back, because you can see, if you look real close, we've got a solid clear coat. It's not patchy. It's not pitted. Down here, it's another story entirely. We've got so much dead skin on here. If especially if you that live in Florida, those of you that live in Florida, you're probably big sandal wearers, right? And they come out with all kinds of different buff pads and stuff where you can take the dead skin off of the heel of your foot and the ball of your foot and all that. That's kind of where we're at right now with this paint surface. This paint surface right now, we need to get all of this dead skin off if we're going to take it back the other direction and return that luster permanently. And equally important, we've got to protect this painted surface as well. You can't just take the dead skin off and then leave this raw paint exposed. That would be like taking a buffer on the ball of your foot or the heel of your foot, and then never putting lotion on your feet after that. That's kind of what we're working with right now on this painted surface. We've got to get the dead skin off, then we've got to protect that skin and moisturize it, and then seal it. And that's kind of what a lot of the moisturizers do, is it's a combination of softening the skin again and then sealing the skin so that it can, if it's been damaged in some way, it's going to allow that skin to regenerate, reheal again. Unfortunately, when surfaces get like this, they're not self-generating. This one does not have pin rash. Nope, it doesn't. This one never had that wrap around the arm up here. And if you don't know what pin rash is that Emma's referring to, that's when they put like some sort of a band around here. It might be cotton, it might be something else, and they stick all of their pins in there when they're doing their sewing, and it'll just eat that paint up real quick, because you're basically driving a pin or the equivalent of a nail into that painted surface. You kill the clear coat, you kill the paint, and then you create, well, you've seen it on some of the machines. We had some of that actually on, what was that machine I showed you where there was scratching? The one that was just picked up, right? That other class 66 that belonged to, why am I blanking on her name? Y'all help me out. You know who I'm talking about. She was just in the workshop. I got weekend brain right now. But even with that light wiping over we did here, again, because the surface is in a different state than the other one, you can already see some of that Some of that shine and luster starting to come back. But there's still more. You can still see that in there. And it's just I mean, there's all kinds of products out there that tell you it'll save you time. There's rust mitigation type products, there's polishing products, there's cleaning products, and all kinds of other things. And as the consumer, that they can spend less time getting their whatever it is, their counter surface or whatever to a state that they want. But when you're dealing with a restoration like this, and you have the element of the decals as well, and the decals are protected by nothing other than clear coat. Well, you can see down here, up here, compared to down here, there's basically little or nothing protecting this. And that's why I haven't done any cleaning on this yet. But look at these edges. Look at those edges that are already, they're almost on the edge of turning silver right now. See that right around here? And that's where someone was trying to clean the surface. There's not enough clear coat left to protect them. And so now we're basically cleaning over the decal. That's a raw decal right now. There's nothing protecting it. Someone already is, this decal can't be brought back, because that colored surface, like in the center here, the golden parts in that, it's already been eaten away because there's no clear coat left to protect it. And that's where, you know, everyone's situation is different. Everyone's situation, their machine situation is different, and you can't say one fits all. One fits all, because the approach that you take to this, where you need to clean up this decal to some extent if this decal is not going to be replaced before you clear coat it, because once you clear coat it, like I said, it's like a two-way mirror. Anything left on this decal is going to reflect back through that clear coat, that new clear coat. Anything left on here that isn't mitigated, anything left over here or over here, clear coat is going to allow that to reflect right back through again. The circle of death just showed up. Okay. I don't see anything on my end, Emma, but we're going to go ahead and end this stream anyway, because while this is a great opportunity to chat through these things and to look and to discuss different options, it doesn't get me as far down the road as I need to, and trying to move forward with dealing with all of this stuff. You know, even the cleanliness issue of this machine are just off the charts. So this will be a very lengthy process. And I also need to pop over to the other workbench and focus on finishing up that Swedish Beauty, this Swedish Beauty that is a two-part project. There's another machine as well that this customer brought. So it's kind of hopping back and forth between this machine. Okay, we're going to hit this machine for a while. We're going to pop back over here now. And just going back and forth between these two machines. But I appreciate y'all, all the insights you gave, the participation, and all of that good stuff. And I'm going to try to get, I don't even know what time it is right now. Looks like we've been on this live stream for about an hour and 20 minutes. But I got to get back to this machine and try to move it forward, get those pictures posted on Facebook, like I told Carmen I was going to do, so that she can kind of see what we're working with, and then make some decisions on what she wants to do as far as moving this project forward. But I really, the ideal situation, would be, and really not only the ideal, the necessary situation is to stabilize this bed surface. Bed surfaces get the most wear, obviously, because of, you know, running your hands over them, running the material over them over and over again. And there's little or no protection right now for this painted surface. So even once all the dirt and all the dead skin, the dead loosened clear coat that's remaining gets off of there, we're still going to have a surface that has to be treated and sealed in some way to preserve the paint that's on there. There's no way around that, because raw paint can't be left as raw paint. But we've made some dent even during this live premiere. You know, all of this stuff coming off of that bed, just as a first step. And again, the cautionary note, again, we exchange information during these live streams. The cautionary note from, well, Stephen isn't part of this live stream as far as I saw, but the cautionary note is aluminum rot. What do you suggest to remove the paint with? And that happens sometimes due to moisture, butterfly. The least abrasive thing to use on an aluminum painted surface, if you want to remove the paint, what do you suggest to remove the paint? Let me show you. The least abrasive approach to removing paint from any metal surface, whether it's aluminum, cast iron, or anything else, is going to be a brush similar to this. I'm trying to see if I got a number on this that I can give you. I don't. But these are generally going to be made out of a soft material like copper or brass. The beauty of these brushes is you can use them on anything from a medallion, like on the front of the machine, to a painted surface, as you've seen me do on some of the Facebook shots, and take it all the way down to bare metal, and it's not going to scratch. Yeah, it's not going to scratch the metal surface at all. These are wonderful. It's such a soft way of removing, a delicate way of removing paint, or even using this to polish. As long as you do it gently and you don't crank the revolutions up too high, you can also use it to clean up surfaces like this too. See how dull that is right now, how nasty it is looking? And I don't have something like this for a Dremel, but I could show you real quick before we click off of this. Where is it? So let's just say we're concentrating just on this surface right here. All right. Just this surface right here. And it's not really that bad. It's not that bad at all. But the big risk whenever you're working with chromed areas, and realize that there are some companies like the domestic sewing machine company that with areas like this, they didn't chrome them, they actually silver plated them. So when you're working with a plate that's a surface that's silver plated, it's going to be different than chrome as well. But this particular brush is very, very gentle when it comes to cleaning up chrome surfaces. I'm going to see if I can move it back just a little bit further. I just don't want to lose my tension parts. There we go. That's pretty good. Oh, and if you missed it, if you just joined the live stream late or something like that, Emma had a story about Gugon and clear coats. So you may want to look at the chat and check that out. But again, when you're applying this, you're going to go very gentle over it, very gentle. Now, that's not where I would take it to, but look at the difference on that already from where it was at. And that, again, is the beauty. You can kind of see almost a reflection there, can't you? But it's not finished yet. It's not finished. But that's the beauty of this type of brush is, unlike a regular wire brush, similar to, say, this, that you can find these all over the place. This is a lot harder, more harsh approach to trying to polish something up, and this would actually leave scratch marks. This would actually leave scratch marks all over it if you used a brush like this. So brushes are not created equal, and when you go into your hardware store or you go into whatever place you would shop in your neck of the woods, you can let them know these hardware folks are real smart people, and a lot of them are tradespeople as well. And you can tell them what kind of metal you're looking to clean, or that you're wanting to strip down a machine, and that the machine has an aluminum base to it. They'll usually steer you pretty right. They'll be right more than wrong. They'll be a lot more right than, and I always hate to beat up the Facebook groups, but there's just a lot of bad information being distributed. And the same thing is the case with even these areas up here. Now, my ideal situation, if I'm going to be cleaning this, which I'm going to be doing eventually, my ideal situation is to actually take the spring out. Make sure your presser foot lever is in the down position. Actually unscrew this, because people will try. They'll try, saying just use a brush, just brush it off, sort of thing, like this. That's not going to do it. You got to actually unscrew this all the way. Takes a while. And there's usually going to be a little retaining ring on top of there, so you got to be careful you don't lose it when you take this off. See if I can show you. At last. So I'm going to set this down here. And then what we're going to do is real carefully, I've got to kind of set the camera down. Am I even near it? There we go. When you slide this spring up, just watch for that little retainer. It should be a retainer on there. And this one doesn't have a retainer. I'll have to add it. Now what you can do is you can use that same brush that we used to begin cleaning up this surface. And it's already starting to look really nice. You can use that same brush, but again, watch the edges where it's painted. That's where a Dremel style tool would work better. But they don't make Dremels made onto that same metal, but gives you access to this presser foot bar, and you can get this surface nice and clean. You can clean the spring as well. And I always recommend putting probably with a Q-tip swab, putting a light, once you get it clean, putting a light layer of oil on here as well, so that when that's being lowered up and down, it's going to move much more freely. But we've got a lot of work even in this faceplate area. You can just see all the filth build up on there. I'll just put it back together for now because that's not going to be my focus right now. But this is actually missing a little ring. There's usually what it is, it's a compression ring that fits over the top of that. Let me see if I can find one and I'll show you what it looks like. That's not going to be the right size for this machine, I don't think. Nope, it's not going to be big enough. Well, none of these are the right size for this 66, but it's going to look something like that. And what it's going to do is it's going to go against the bottom of here. It's going to be smaller in circumference. It's going to go against the bottom of there. So when you're screwing it down, it's going to be pushing that spring down evenly. So just make sure that you've got a washer similar to this that's going to fit inside of that well. This is not the correct one, but it's going to be the same concept. Because right now, this particular machine doesn't have one like that. And what it can do sometimes is it can cause an uneven push on that spring, and then you're not going to be getting even presser foot pressure because that spring is not going to be going down evenly. It's going to be pressing a little bit harder on one side than the other. And you might not even notice it, but it'll impact how well that material is feeding, especially with a dash one like this, because the presser foot is a different style on this, where you're getting more pressure towards the rear. You're getting more pressure towards the rear. That, see how it's angled? The 66-1 mounts on the rear like this, and you get more pressure on the butt of the presser foot attachment than you do on the front. It's a little bit uneven. Bill and I have talked about that, and he said, I agree with you 100%. So it's an interesting design. With the bend like this, it's almost designed similar to a slant-o-matic based on how that presser foot moves that material over the feed dogs. Yeah, someone was in here before, or they lost it. Yeah, so I'll get the appropriate washer so that when this eventually gets back to Carmen, it's gonna have that washer. I'm just surprised I can't find one right now, but it's just Murphy's Law when you're on camera. Just determine, see if I can. Well, let's see. Hold on a second. That one doesn't have one either. Somebody's stealing all the washers off of these. Let me get a measurement. That might be helpful too. So if you go into your hardware store, see 5, 6. you go into your hardware store, what you're looking for is a washer that will slide over that presser foot bar, which is going to be 7.5 millimeters. If that light is causing it to. At any rate, if you can't read that, it's 7.5 millimeters. So the inner part of that washer that you would use as a distributor of the force to keep that spring going down evenly would be 7.5 millimeters. But the opening is a little bit bigger than that. The opening that washer has to fit through, you probably want to go with one that's no bigger in circumference than around 10 millimeters, so that it'll slide past that post down into the well. So inner is 7.5, outer can't be any bigger than about 10 millimeters. And then when you slide it on, it'll go right over this, and then it'll set right on top of that spring. And then when you screw this down, that washer is going to distribute that force just perfectly on that spring. So I'll add one to this machine before we get it all done. But all right, y'all. Well, I'm going to end this live stream. I don't even know what time it is right now. What is it, going on around 2 o'clock? It looks like my computer is saying going on 2 o'clock. But I appreciate all of you kind of joining me for this. All I really wanted to show you is just the machine and what the next project is. But we went down all kinds of different rabbit holes, which is perfectly fine, so that we could cover other things and share information and learn from each other, which is great. So, but I will get back to work. I'm probably going to jump over to the other workbench now and try to finish up things on this Husqvarna. And you want to check out those Facebook shots as well. That one on the other workbench, I think I said a Type 21, but it's actually a 21E. It's a 21E. So, well, all kinds of stuff going on right now. So y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I guess we don't have much weekend left, do we? Tomorrow we're back to the grind on Monday, but I'm grinding on a Sunday. So every day of the week kind of blends in for me. But that's the nature of working in the workshop. You know, when you're working on projects, you're trying to get caught up. You really don't think about what day of the week it is. I just asked Mr. Bean and he snickers at me, so I don't know what that means. But y'all take care, and we'll be in touch. Okay, see ya.